So, one of the biggest questions a lot of sports fans, mostly those of college sports, has been, asking and wondering is how will the 12-team playoff system work next year for the FBS? I mean, we know that the FCS has its playoff tournament set and ready to go, but the question is how will an FBS one, almost identical, if not similar, to that work next year? We know that, this year will be the last year where basically you will have a final four of teams. You have two teams, basically competing in separate bowl games. I think one is the Cotton Bowl and one is the Rose Bowl. I could be wrong. And then the winners of that advance to the national championship. But next year it expands. And there's been various scenarios of how it's going to work. Some have said that, the Fiesta Bowl and Orange Bowl and Cotton and Rose will serve as quarterfinals, well, the two other bowls after it will serve as, the semifinals. But the NCAA, to me, actually cleared it up a little bit. And this is how they cleared it up. Basically, this is what they say. And I quote, basically, where the CFP games will be played, the lower seed has the opportunity to select the host venue during the first round. Bowl games will be introduced in the quarterfinal round. The semifinal will be played in bowls on a rotating basis. The national championship host site is determined through bids by prospective, easy for me to say, prospective host sites, kind of like Super Bowl and all that. Now, basically, they give an example of how it would look like today. If it was going on now, if it was going to happen this year, basically this is what they say. They show that the top 12 teams are in the rankings. Now, this was on October 31st. That's changed pretty much by now. And basically, this is how they have it seeded. They say, and I quote, the first round would go like this. As stated in the official announcement by CFP, the first rounds will take place at either the home field of the higher seeded team or another site designated by the higher seeded program during the week of Saturday, December 21st. Though Pacific dates have not yet been announced, we can make predictions on how each matchup will appear. So basically, so what they're doing here is they're using examples of what it would be like if it happened this year. So, for example, number 12 or 9, whatever they are now, but basically this is how they looked at it from the October 31st standings. And again, that has changed. But this is just an example. They say at the time, number 12 Missouri would be at number 5 Washington. Number 11 Penn State would be at Oregon, and number 6 Oregon. Number 10 Ole Miss would be at number 7 Texas, and number 9 Oklahoma would be at number 8 Alabama. Now, of course, that's changed to the point that now it would probably be Missouri at Oklahoma or somewhere. I have to look. But basically, that's how they project it, from the standings on October 31st. Now, it said, with the top seeded teams receiving bye weeks, the winner of the games basically listed above would move on to face teams number 1 through 4. Teams will not be reseeded. This means that the top ranked team would proceed to face the winner of the 9 and 8 matchup. So in other words, let's say Ohio State is number 1, right? Let's say they go on to be number 1, and let's say whoever's at number 9, like right now, last I checked, number 9 was Missouri. Let's say Missouri wins the first round game. Missouri would face Ohio State. Now, how that would work is really interesting because now this is where the bowl games come into perspective. Because again, they're going to clear it up a little bit more. The bowl games would be like this. The first round would be on the 20th and 21st. The Fiesta Bowl would be the quarterfinals on December 31st. Well, on January 1st, the Rose, the Peach, and the Sugar Bowl would also host quarterfinals. The Orange Bowl would host the semifinals and the Cotton the semifinals. And then on January 20th, you would have the national championship. So basically, this pushes the college football season. And I just wanted to check my time there. If you hear anything, I do apologize. But again, this would push the college football season even further into the month of January. How this affects the bowl games, outside of that, I don't think will affect them at all. You're still going to get all your lower tier, mid tier, upper tier bowl games that precede this, but now it puts even more importance on the bowl games that have always been associated with New Year's Day in a big, big way. Ever since the whole BCS and stuff occurred, it puts more emphasis and importance on them. So basically, right here, this would be the bowl matchups for next year, and then that's 2025. So basically, they rotate. They basically rotate and everything. So, like in 2025, the Cotton Bowl, along with the Orange, Rose, and Sugar Bowls, would host quarterfinals, while the Fiesta Bowl and Peach Bowl would be the semis. And again, the national championship would be on January 19th in 2025. So, the way I look at it, basically, it's not going to affect whatsoever the other bowl games. For anybody that's wondering. Basically, like I said, it puts more emphasis on how the bowls will be played. In other words, they're saying basically that, if it was to happen today, the top 12 teams would be in these positions, whether they like it or not. They would be put into positions to where number 9 would go to a number 8, and so on and so forth. But the number 1 team would face, the number 9 or 8 team in a quarterfinal matchup, which would probably be, the Rose Bowl or wherever they're designated at. Now, how this affects the rest of the college bowl season is going to be interesting, because I think because they're going to be pushing the bowl season even further out, if you will, even further out, it's basically going to allow, the bowl selections, for all the bowls to be basically starting next year to basically be on the 22nd. It'll be on the 22nd. So when the bowl games are selected, just check my time there, if you hear a clicker and all that. But when the bowls are selected, the New Year, the traditional New Year's Day 6 and all that, all the other bowl games will be announced as well. So it's not going to really change much, except it's going to make the bowl season start even later by at least a week. So instead of, let's say, starting on let's say the 20th or the 21st, it would start primarily like around the 27th or the 28th, which actually kind of works out. It gives all the other bowl games a lot more chances to have a longer schedule. Now, I could be wrong about that. I could be wrong, but that's the way I see it. Because if you're going to implement this scenario, into the postseason for college football in the FBS level, I think it's only fair that you basically expand the season expand the bowl season for all the other schools. So that, to me, is what's going to happen. That's how I see this 12 playoff team, working, infecting all of the college